Welcome back, my clever home buyer. So this is module 4. And I know that when I described module 3, I said that this was the desktop due diligence, the due diligence that you do from your computer. And we did market research, location research, and property research. This one, a module is about the physical due diligence, which is actually getting in your car, driving around to scout locations and also to attend open homes. Sometimes you might be a bit like, not sure about this home, not sure if I'll attend the open home. So you can do a drive-by the day before if you've got a bit of time, or earlier in the day and just go, no, don't like this street, or, oh gosh, there's a block of flats like really overlooking our swimming pool. So you can eliminate things without having to stretch yourself too thin on Saturdays, which is generally the open day. So let's so we've opened up the workbook and we have seen that we have made it to module 4. We've learned how to plan, create a buyer's brief, include some professionals so that we're protected. We've learned a lot about the industry and how real estate works. We have researched online and had a bit of explored a lot of websites that we understand the desktop due diligence that we need to do before we are even beginning to become interested in purchasing a particular property. The next module is about the desktop due diligence that you need to do when you're looking at a home, whether it be a unit, a villa, a freestanding house. It's your home. So let's have a look at what we need to do to make sure that it's going to be the right home for you. So therefore, this does have a lot of different points in the table of contents. Let me make it easier for you. That looks a little scary, doesn't it? I've never looked at it this way before. It's like, wow, there's a lot of information in there. So physical inspection. So like I say here, real estate agents, they're lovely people. Honestly, they are helpful. They want to do a good job. But we must remember that they're not on your team. They're on the seller's team. They're doing the best job they can for the seller. The seller has selected them to represent them because they want this sales agent to get as much money for them for this property as possible. And that's the sales agent's job. So remembering that the sales agent can be helpful and lovely, but they're not on your team. I think that's an important point to remember. So what is due diligence? Okay. It's the process of thoroughly investigating and evaluating a home before you decide what it's worth. You can decide what the home is worth until you find out it's got a termite infestation or something. So, or had one in the past. Just because it had one in the past and the termites don't live there anymore doesn't mean that the damage wasn't done. So the 3 professions, yet again, to help you with your due diligence. There's the buyer's agent, in this case, you. And so that's why we're going to a lot of effort to make sure that you know what you need to do to thoroughly do your own due diligence. And there's your building and pest inspectors, and your conveyancer will also be very supportive, and their goal is to protect you throughout the process. They are on your team. The building and pest inspectors are on your team. The conveyancers on your team. You want people on your team. If you don't have a buyer's agent, it's you. You're the leader of your team. Great. Again, the 3 types of due diligence. You've got your market research, your location research, and then the actual property research. And there is desktop due diligence and physical due diligence that you can do at each stage. As we get down narrower and narrower, the importance of the physical due diligence becomes more apparent. So here we talk about attending open homes and what to say to real estate agents. You can walk around with love hearts in your eyes, looking, oh, hi, yes, nice day, thank you. And that's not going to leave an impression on the real estate agent. If you decide that you actually are interested in placing an offer on this place, you need to make sure that the sales agent takes your offer seriously, takes you seriously, and keeps you in the loop in what's going on. They're busy, especially in the market at the moment. There's Remember the days when you'd attend an open home and then all the agents would call you up and find out what you thought of it? There's not that need to do that so much anymore. You know what I mean? So there's also the seller's disclosure statement that you should receive at an open home if the open home is part of um, has a body corporate um, situation. So I could probably reword that better. But if it's a strata scheme or the property has a strata title, then a seller's disclosure statement should be provided to you by the sales agent. And on the 1st of August, there will be changes to the seller's disclosure statement. That's not that far away. We're looking at less than 6 months now. And then, so on the 1st of August, there will be seller's disclosure statements that also need to be provided by the sales agent to the buyers for homes that are not covered by a strata scheme. How to use inspection checklists. This is fun. You're at the open home and I want you to use one of my checklists. Okay. And this is why. I'm not going to ask you to be going, oh, let me look at the taps. Does this tap work? Does this tap well? It's going to take you an hour to go through an open home if you go through a checklist like that. My tip for you and what buyers agents do is we take videos and we've got our list in our mind of what everything we need to check. We do a narration of the video, so we can say something like, the silicone around the shower is got mold in it. We can take, a closer look at that or a photograph of that silicone. We can say, it's the grout in the bathroom around the vanity. It needs replacing. We can make observations like that with our video and just keep the checklist on a clipboard and move through. I've got some tips here that you need to read. So you don't want to upset the real estate agent. Okay. You don't want to be saying, the grout around the shower is awful when there's other buyers around who are listening to you. You want the real estate agent to like you, not dislike you. That's not going to help. So my lists have got tips for how to conduct an inspection correctly and what questions to ask. So there are general questions. One of the ones that everyone seems to think is important to ask is why the owner's selling. And, it's a great, if you can get that information out of the sales agent, kudos to you. They're not a very good sales agent. They probably shouldn't share that information because if they're selling because a relationship has broken down or there's been, they're selling they've already sold their home and they need to sell this one quickly to move on. That puts you in a more powerful negotiating position. So the sales agents should keep a lot of information close to their chest. But if you're nice and if you've seen them at a few open homes, you've developed that relationship with them, that it might just give you a few little hints. Hint is a good word, actually. Specific questions. So you've asked the general questions, which is great to know. Specific questions. And questions about placing an offer. If you're at the open home, you're like, I think I am interested in placing an offer. You need to find out from the sales agent about how they're going to process that offer. And we'll go into more detail. So there's the body corporate disclosure statements and hiring a building and pest inspector. It's tempting to want to, we'll go into these in more detail. It's tempting to want to just skip the building and pest inspection. And in a hot market, if you've got 10 people placing an offer on a property and you're the only one who's having a building and pest inspection, you've got no hope. So we need to talk about that in more detail. And we do. The common issues discovered. So is there a pool at a home? What if the seller provided the building and pest report? Are the smoke alarms compliant? And then we've got your due diligence checklist that you can clip onto your clipboard and just make sure that as you walk around with your video, you're not missing anything, I'll go into more detail about this in a separate video. So we've got your property research, physical due diligence checklist. And then there's just more questions to ask yourself about, what's the street like? How come there are so many cars parked in the front yard of the house across the road? and the neighbours have got this rotting car corpse that's been sitting there for what looks like about 10 years. So you can also record your thoughts on the video of like do a 360 of the street. We'll go into more detail, like I said. So that's the end. You've just had an overview of module 4, and I can't wait to take you into it in more detail.